Hello, 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 hello. Welcome to the Dreams to Keys Realty YouTube channel. Hopefully you can hear me all right. You make sure. Hello, hello, hello. Hello, hello, hello. Can you hear me? All right. Hopefully you all can hear me fine. I'm trying to make sure the volume on the mic is good. But welcome to the Dreams to Keys Realty YouTube channel. We tend to have some delays with the video from time to time, courtesy of StreamYard, but hopefully you can hear me just fine. I am Jalon Strong, the Essential Millennial Realtor of Dreams to Keys Realty, and welcome to our channel. If you're new here, or even if you've been here a time or two before, make sure that you like the video, hit the subscribe button, and you can hit the notification bell so that you don't miss any content when we go live or post anything on this channel. We're talking about some very important topics to real estate, the market, and also things indirectly affecting the market on this channel. So make sure that you don't miss any of that. I see that our subscriber count has increased. We're approaching the 150 subscriber mark, and we would love to get up to 500 subscribers. So if you're here, you're seeing this video at any point in time, whether it's the live or the replay, make sure to hit that subscribe button. It helps to get us in the algorithm to reach those who are interested in this type of content. And we hope that is yourself and others that are connected to you. Now, we start off our lives or videos with the link in the bio highlight of the week. And that also is the link in the description box if you're here on this YouTube channel. So if you're following us on other social media platforms such as Facebook, Instagram, Blue Sky, Substack, and TikTok, you will see this same link that you see in the description box, as well as in the link in the bio on our social media pages. That link is also moving about at the bottom of the screen, which is beacons.ai/Jalon Strong. Now, the link in the bio highlight of the week this week is rent reporters. If you've been here on a few lives or replays, you have known from those lives, or you are aware from those lives what Rent Reporters is. It is a separate company that utilizes its resources to make sure that if you're making on-time rental payments, that they can count toward your credit score and show on your credit reports. That's not something that's done automatically. That's something that has to be done through services such as those done by Rent Reporters. So if that's something of interest to you, if you're a renter and you make on-time rental payments and you need a credit boost, or even if you just want that to reflect on your credit reports, make sure that you go to the link in the bio, click the tab that says Rent Reporters, and get connected to them to get started with that process today. And they'll be able to walk you through what it looks like, and you'll be also able to communicate with them once you get your first report after using their services, and let them know if you're pleased with their services, and they can assist you as well if you need any accommodations for that. So they have a policy where they want to make sure that you are seeing the results you're looking for. So if you're not, make sure that you let them know. Now I'll talk about another business that I started, which is called Crowned First Lady, which is the business where you can find First Lady scalp oil. For many of you, you are aware that I had battled alopecia, and it was during a very stressful time in my life, and I found that my crown broke off. The hair in my crown was just not growing. And as a woman, that's frustrating because you feel less as a woman in certain senses. So I was going to doctors and dermatologists, and essentially they wanted me to try things like minoxidil, which I did, but I found that I was allergic to minoxidil. So that is no longer an option for me. And then the other options that they wanted me to try were lifelong medications. And that did not make sense for me. Was at being someone that's not on any lifelong medications, doesn't have any chronic conditions. So I felt that I needed to find something else that was better suited for me, short term and long term. And over time, I researched different oils and came up with my own blend of essential oils that I use on my own scalp. And I applied it to my scalp after washing my hair, and I was comfortable with that. I customized it to what didn't irritate my scalp, helped to keep it moisturized, nourished, and gave it those essential oils that could benefit it. And I saw a difference. I saw growth. I saw a calmer scalp. And I don't feel that tendency to try to hide my crown. I wear my natural hair out, as you can see, and I'm not concerned about someone seeing, those areas that were concerns for me before. And what I noticed is that I kept using it. Those that are around me, they knew about the oil that I made for myself. They asked to try it. I gave some of them, some samples to try. And next thing you know, I'm getting asked for larger bottles. So I'm like, this is no longer just something that helps me, it's something that helps others as well. And because of that, I created a business called Crown First Lady. So if you are interested in that, if you would like to try something to help calm your scalp, to help improve your hair and generate hair growth, if you want to try that for that purpose, of course, I can't make any claims, but I will say that it's something I used and it's something that helped me in a very difficult time. And I saw benefits from it. So I would love for you to give it a try and share that with others. The website is crownfirstlady.net. You can go there right now and order a 1 ounce or 4 ounce bottle or both. You can do a mixture combination and make sure that you complete your checkout process, and we will get that order to you as soon as possible. I would love to see your support and thank you in advance. Now we're going to get into why we're here. We're here to talk about this title. And if you're looking at the title of this video, you know we're here to talk about the Homeowners Association and this article about them having to pay a Georgia homeowner $40K, $40,000 in settlement. Now, this caught my eye because, as you know, I am a real estate agent or realtor, and I am in Georgia. So I was curious about what this was, what it meant, and we're going to pull up the article that I found and talk about it. First, we're going to talk about what is a homeowners association. So I'm going to present my screen so that we can look at a definition of it and a description of it from Gwinnett County, which is one of the counties that I service. So let me share that to you and make sure that you can see it. I have to double check and make sure it is showing on the screen. And it looks like it is. Okay. So the title is HOA. Actually, let's go to, I'm going to stop in this one and go to the one that defines what a homeowners association is, which is the HOA that we're talking about. So let's go to that one first. And of course, I have to make sure you can see it. It looks like you can. All right, so let's focus on the section under homeowners associations. It says, strong, healthy neighborhoods help create dynamic, vibrant communities. That's why county government offers this section of the site to provide streamlined communication and customized information for homeowners associations, also known as HOAs. HOAs are private organizations incorporated under state laws that usually operate within planned real estate developments. Members pay fees and share in the benefits and liabilities of mutually owned property ranging from entrance signs to community recreation facilities. HOAs can enforce covenants, property maintenance rules, and aesthetic standards that are often more restrictive than city or county codes and ordinances. While local governments cannot enforce association covenants, the HOA can enforce the covenants in court. And then it goes on to say if you're interested in how to contact for more information. So let's stop sharing. So at least that gives us, for those that may not be familiar with what an HOA is, or you may have heard the reference to an HOA, but you're not quite sure what that means. If you're looking to be a buyer at some point, then, or even if your community has thought about creating an HOA where there previously was not one, that is what the County of Gwinnett County in Georgia is describing for us regarding what an HOA is. And of course, if you have any questions about anything, comments, please put them in the comment section. Give me a thumbs up if you're liking this video, as well as share it to anyone that you know might be interested in knowing this type of information or even reviewing this article. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Now let's get into the article. So the article again is about the HOA to pay a Georgia homeowner $40K in settlement. I want to make sure everyone can see it on the screen first. And StreamYard has some challenges with the video, so hopefully it's not looking too weird. Sometimes it pauses at some of the most awkward times. Okay, so I think we're good. Okay, I think you all can see it. So the title of this article, which is coming from Atlanta News First, the title is HOA to pay Georgia homeowner $40K, so that's $40,000 settlement after she sued them for a lien on her home. So homeowners in Conyers subdivision say their HOA hasn't provided financial documentation for nearly 2 decades. So Conyers is in a different county, but that's also a county that I don't service. So I want to make sure that I give some information to those that I do service, but also give some information relevant to the state. So homeowners in Conyers subdivision say their HOA hasn't provided financial documentation for nearly 2 decades. All right, so there's some videos here. I won't play those, but feel free to grab the link from the description box if you want to check the videos out. I'm going to focus on reading the article itself. So that's what we'll do for this live. And of course, you have the link in the description box if you want to check out the videos. So this is an article published May 19, 2025. And it reads, Michelle Bernard remembers the challenges she faced when she bought her home in Channing Cove, a subdivision of about 40 homes in Conyers, Georgia. When I came searching in this subdivision, I was advised that I could not afford this subdivision by the realtor, who did not know about my financial background or anything, Bernard said. Now, I gotta just pause with that because I would hope that being a realtor, I would hope that we're not speaking on things without any level of expertise on what we're describing, because the financial piece is primarily left to the financial expert in the buying process, which should be the lender, if that is a part of it, unless the buyer is paying outright or going through another type of financing. But overall, if a buyer needs assistance buying a property, it's some type of lending going on. So to hear that she was advised that she could not afford this subdivision by the realtor who did not know her financial background almost sounds like a situation where it could have been where there might not have been much of a consultation process between the realtor and this buyer. Because I know my process, we're going to talk about what you're looking for, but we're also going to provide you, we being the business, we're going to provide you with resources and connections so that you can get your pre-approval letter and things of that nature so that we both know what price point we're looking in. So to read that statement just feels like something was missed in that process. So here is a point for you if you are someone that is looking to buy a home or thinking about buying a home in the future, to vet out who you want to work with and make sure that you don't feel frustrated in the process. And we haven't even talked about the property yet. At this point in the article, we've just talked about where the home is, when the subdivision came about, when she was looking, where this buyer was looking, and what interaction she had with her realtor at that time. And so far, it's not feeling good just reading it. But let's continue. Nearly 2 decades later, the business owner, wife, and mother feels like she's still fighting to own her home. It doesn't make any sense for any hardworking individual to go through these things that I have been going through, and my neighbors also, said Bernard, who is one of 2 residents suing their homeowners association. And there's a video of her. Again, feel free to use the link in the description box to check out the videos in your spare time. There's a quote from her that says, "They have forced people to pay thousands of dollars and never provided proof they owe it," she said. Ouch. So this is where it's getting muddy, because the HOA should tell everyone in advance what the fees are, what are they going toward. There should be like some meetings where there's time for the residents to voice concerns. And there should also be a board of the residents on the HOA. So it just sounds like this has gotten a bit sticky in that HOA. Let's read on to the fines and fees lead to liens. Bernard's is one of 5 homes in the neighborhood with liens for unpaid fines ranging from $878 to $2,755. Now, this is a different county than those that I service, but these numbers seem very high. Not even HOA dues in a lot of communities that I'm aware of in my areas are this high. So I guess it depends on, well, it does depend on what else that HOA is covering. Do you have like recreational facilities that you're covering that increases that HOA due? Or these are fines. So what is related to these fines? Why is it such a great range? And if what she's saying above is that there was no proof of it, so if you don't have the proof, then of course you wouldn't want to pay it until you get the proof. If someone is asking you for money and they don't have proof that you owe them, most of us would think there's some type of scam or something going on. So please provide the proof. Please provide the documentation in writing that says I should have known that this was something I could have been fined for, those types of things. And this is not feeling good once again, but at least we know from the title that this turns out better for this homeowner, but it sounds very sticky thus far. Now let's read on. With 3 common grass patch areas and a small retention pond annual HOA dues in Channing Cove were $100 when the builder created the HOA in 2007. Today, they're $200, but residents say they want proof for anything extra. Okay, so 3 common grass patch areas and a small retention pond. Not sure how many. Okay, they said 40 homes. So that could make sense compared to what I've seen in my county. That could make sense. However, yes, if there's something extra that the HOA is looking to pay for, that needs to be budgeted and discussed amongst the residents prior to it being paid out. So yes, that makes sense to me. Homeowners interviewed by Atlanta News First Investigates said they've refused to pay for assessments and fees without proof of where their dues are going, claiming the only financial documentation the HOA shares are typed Excel spreadsheets. 2 homeowners said they've paid fees just to avoid the possibility of losing their homes. Atlanta News First Investigates has found there's little to no regulation on homeowners associations in Georgia. Under current law, an HOA can file a lien on a home in court for any amount owed. They can foreclose on homes if a lien exceeds $2,000. Okay, so let's pause here and just talk about this. So having Excel spreadsheets as proof of, or being presented as proof that a homeowner owes fees is interesting. I've never experienced that. And typically you get some type of warning before there's a fee. I would expect, that they would give some type of warning like, hey, this is an issue. They probably might send a picture of something from the exterior of the home that's of concern, give you some time to get it done. I'm not hearing that from this article, but and then to hear that homeowners were just paying stuff, they were paying fees out of fear of losing their home because of what was stated below, is that the regulations really aren't there. And what I have seen in another article, which we can talk about on a different day, is there are Georgia lawmakers, or at least one, that is concerned about HOAs and wants to see more regulation of them because of things like this, where it just seems like there's unchecked processes. And the HOA is supposed to serve the residents. It's supposed to be of the residents for the residents. It's not supposed to be, it's not ideal for it to be so combative. However, we know there are people that will know the dues and not pay them, and so it becomes a legal process. But it's intended to make sure that the neighborhood is kept up and that everyone has a standard of living or standard of keeping their homes up to code or up to date, especially on the exterior. So having this in the article, it seems like, I don't know if other people were included in the settlement, but it seems like there's some other homeowners that might be able to benefit from this settlement. Let's keep reading. Oftentimes, a homeowner's only means of fighting fines and liens is to hire a private attorney. And there's another video there. Not sure if this is another homeowner, but we'll continue looking at the rest of this article. I told them bring the lien, Bernard said. I'm bringing a lawsuit. So the homeowner in this case was not going down without a fight. Bernard's lawsuit accuses the Channing Cove HOA of fraudulent charges. It also alleges the HOA has been changing its covenants and bylaws without proper meetings and votes since 2011. Going back to my point earlier, the HOA is supposed to be by the residents for the residents. The residents shouldn't be shocked by anything that's being done by the HOAs. It should be noticed, it should be votes, there should be meetings, they should be included in the decision-making process. So it sounds like that just was not going on here for that HOA. Let's keep reading. Fines and fees must be reasonable. More than 2 million Georgians live in communities with homeowners associations. Their purpose is to handle community upkeep and issues, but they also have a lot of power over homes. A Metro Atlanta real estate attorney who deals with hundreds of HOA disputes each year said if residents don't get a private attorney involved early in the dispute, then fees can rack up that result in liens. So that's a bit of a catch-22 for a homeowner, because if you are fighting the lien and then there's fees attached to not paying the lien, and then you have to get an attorney who's probably not pro bono, right? So there's a lot cost-wise for a homeowner to fight this process, which I think is why it would be good for Georgia to establish some type of regulation for HOAs. If an HOA is fining somebody $1,000 or $5,000 for not cutting their grass that one time, that's excessive, said Patience Casey Sadie. At that point, you can argue that the board has gone outside of the scope of their duties. Under Georgia law, homeowners have a right to see all HOA receipts, Casey Sadie said. There's no monetary limit. What the law bases on is reasonableness. In Channing Cove, residents are questioning what's reasonable. One policy enacted in 2018 said homeowners would face fines if they send out a mass email to the community. Now, wait. Wow. Facing fines for an email? I've never heard of that. Now, that does sound excessive. Now, they don't say the amount, they don't say how much. But still, the fact that there's a fine for an email seems a bit much. All right, let's keep reading. Just days after Atlanta News First Investigate spoke with the Channing Cove HOA president, homeowners received 2 new policies prohibiting them from divulging personal information and making slanderous statements about other property owners. So right after this news station started with this process, the HOA president began a new policy. So if the policies are being created that fast, it's really indicating that the residents, the homeowners there, are not included in the decision-making processes. How do you create a policy without those that's again, you have to know what the HOA was created for. It was not created, or I shouldn't say it that way. HOAs are, like I said before, they are supposed to be of the homeowners for the homeowners. It's supposed to be all of the homeowners working together for the good of the community, not working against one, so it's supposed to be that way. But this sounds like it's very much not quite like that. And I'm going to keep reading. According to the policy document, they must write an apology letter within 48 hours of receiving a warning. And if it's against a board member, that's a $1,500 fine. Okay, so this is getting worse and worse the more we read this article. And I'm not a lawyer, but I would think some of this just doesn't seem lawful. Like you have to write an apology letter within 48 hours or get a fine if it's against a board member. This is very, very bad. So let's keep going. Let's see where it left off. Concerns with fines, fees in Channing Cove. One resident received a $400 fine for installing glass windows in his garage without prior HOA approval. Bernard and some of his neighbors received fines for refusing to pay a $300 assessment in 2018 for pond maintenance in the community. The retention pond of concern is located directly behind Bernard's home and is a couple yards in circumference. Homeowners said they noticed inconsistencies in HOA communication regarding the assessment, noting the board claimed there were 3 ponds on the property and that they received a quote for $32,000 and a quote for $10,000. Wow, this HOA is not, if this is true, that's not consistent. And I can see why, as a homeowner, there's confusion. Like, please show me proof of what you're saying I owe because you're giving me different quotes. And as members of the HOA or residents, did we not vote? It's given that there was no vote on what quote or what business was going to be used. It seems like there's a lot of things being done without the members of the HOA, the residents of the community knowing what's going on. And we're seeing different years going across this article. So this is 2018 when some of this is being mentioned. We see that the community, I think it was started in 2007. It's just a lot going on here. And what I don't know also is, was there confusion from the beginning, or was it confusion once there's different leaders or different board members? It's hard to tell from this article, but it just sounds like overall it was a mess. They also expressed concerns with how much money the tree company that performed the maintenance actually received. They filed a report with the sheriff's office, with the Rockdale County Records Office, which the Rockdale County Records Office said an investigation concluded was unfounded. So again, this is pointing into the direction of HOAs needing more regulations, because what other recourse could we think currently for a homeowner fighting these issues with an HOA to use? Now we have them getting private attorney, going to the sheriff's office, making a report. And to this point in the article, there's been no resolution yet. Let's keep reading. Channing Cove HOA president defends financial transparency. The community also approved a new president last year. He told Atlanta News First Investigates he resigned when he couldn't get a financial audit. That left the previous president, Orton Reynolds, in charge. Atlanta News First Investigates knocked on Reynolds' door to ask about homeowners' concerns. He said he doesn't know anything about any concern about any financials in the community. So now we're at the point that they tried to have a new president, but that president wanted an audit done and they couldn't even get the audit. So that president resigned and the previous president continued. Reynolds said he could not comment on any pending lawsuits, adding the HOA sends financial documentation out quarterly. When asked if he would share the receipts with Atlanta News First Investigates, he replied, "What receipts?" Reynolds denied any wrongdoing or financial impropriety. Bernard said the HOA is trying to force me to settle the lawsuit. Her lien was for less than $3,000, but she says the HOA is offering her a $40,000 settlement while denying most of the allegations. Bernard said the HOA is trying to make her lawsuit go away. A Rockdale County judge approved the HOA's motion to enforce the settlement in May, but Bernard said a payout from the HOA's insurance isn't accountability. I need someone to address this because it's affecting our community, she said. And here's another video. Trying to see where the article ends without passing too much. The community will now also have to pay the legal fees the HOA has incurred, which is showing up in their new budget proposal document as $7,000. Your rights as a Georgia homeowner. So let's stop really quick. So think about this. So the title itself sounds amazing, right? If let's say you had fines, fees of $3,000, not sure how much it costs to have an attorney for this homeowner. So you have $40,000 in settlement. That sounds great in comparison to the fee amount or the lien amount. But let's think about this as well. Reading this article, it does not say that she's leaving the community or that she's left the community. It says that it's referencing it as if she's still there, right? And now we have the HOA, they're going to spread out this amount that they're paying out in legal fees over to the HOA budget. So even though she's getting a $40,000 settlement, it's sounding like she's going to end up paying some of that as well as a homeowner still in that community when that HOA budget comes out. So that to me just sounds like a circle of different things. And I don't know, maybe an attorney knows something different where she has different recourse where she can't have the settlement and then be asked to pay with HOA dues or any new budget from the HOA. I'm not sure if there's something legally that can be done so she doesn't have to do that. But if that is the course of action that is taken, I'm really not sure for this homeowner if it's worth it to stay in this community. That sounds like she'll also end up paying on the debt that she received, on the HOA's debt that she received in the settlement, which is ridiculous if that's what ends up happening. So this really sounds like a very sticky situation. Let's go and read the bottom part. And I think we're about done with this article. Your rights as a Georgia homeowner. HOAs must disclose financial documents, including itemized receipts. HOAs can file a lien on your home in court for any amount and can file to foreclose on your home if that fine is more than $2,000. Fines and fees need to be reasonable, and late fees cannot be more than 10% of the fee or assessment. Any major changes require a vote from members, and amendments to the covenants need to be filed in court. Let's stop sharing. Well, that article seemed really not as fun as it turned out to be, or as it seemed to be, I should say. And by fun, I don't mean that anyone owing anybody is fun, but when you read that type of title, you think there's victory for this homeowner. But once we got to the end, I wasn't so sure if she wasn't going to incur any of that debt, which doesn't sound as victorious as the title felt initially. So what should we take home from this type of situation, this type of article, especially if you are a home owner or if you're looking to buy a home in the future? What should you know about the homeowners associations? Well, one, find out if you're looking to buy a home, find out if the home that you would like to buy a home in, the community that you would like to buy a home in has an HOA. You may want to decide for yourself before seeing homes if that is a preference for you. And you can ask your real estate agent, realtor, real estate broker to show you a mixture. Like, find homes that are in your price point, in the zip codes that you want to live in, and see those with and without HOAs. What you might experience is that those with HOAs tend to, in general, be more they appear more appealing on the exterior generally, which is the thought, because the homeowners have that awareness to keep the neighborhood up. They're reminded by the HOA to keep the neighborhood up, keep the grass cut, to make sure your house gets painted, pressure washed, all that stuff. But sometimes you may go into neighborhoods that don't have HOAs and not find that level of upkeep. And you can kind of tell by the exterior of the homes as you're driving in the neighborhood. So give yourself that grace to figure out what's best for you. Is it best for you to live in a neighborhood with the HOA or one without? And just maintain your home? Is that the priority? And think also, if you are looking to buy a home that you want to be your forever home, would you want your forever home to be one in a neighborhood that doesn't have an HOA? Now, as we've seen from this article, HOAs are not perfect. And they are, as I mentioned before, intended to be of the homeowners for the homeowners. It's not intended to be one where there's such inconsistency or lack of communication about what's going on in the community. The idea that it's supposed to be of the homeowners for the homeowners is supposed to enhance the value that all homeowners in the community place on how the community looks and is valuated. In this article, it did not seem that community feel was there, and it felt like there was more strife between the board and the remaining homeowners. And the settlement that the homeowner received based on lack of receipts, or as the president mentioned in the article, just wanting the situation to go away and then putting that debt back into the budget for the HOA, seemed to be such a cycle of, for lack of better wording, madness. It just seemed like a cycle. And so that's why it's very important to be active in your community. If you have an HOA in your neighborhood, to be present for those meetings, to be a voting homeowner, because you end up in situations potentially like this where there's a number of homeowners that are unaware of what's going on, the communication's not there, and then what appears to be happening feels more threatening to the homeowners than it does informative. So it was a really sad article for me to read, because that's not how it should be at all. It's one thing that, maybe there was one misunderstanding, but reading the article seemed like there was a history of inappropriate handling of trust of the homeowners by the HOA. There was lack of documentation or receipts provided to the HOA's homeowners, and there were meetings and voting opportunities missing for those homeowners in that community, which is a disservice to them, which also promotes, like I mentioned before, that there should be more regulations for HOAs so that homeowners don't feel like they're in such a fight to keep and have their home. And in the state of the economy that we're in, there's already such a fight to, make sure that you're keeping up with your taxes, your insurance, your mortgage payments, all of that. And to also have to fight with your HOA, it just seems quite unnecessary, especially if you're paying your mortgage, you're keeping your home up, you're doing all these things. And to be fined for an email, it just seems quite ridiculous. I've never heard of any of this before. But also, that's in Rockdale County, in a Conyers subdivision, and I service Gwinnett and DeKalb counties. So if you are interested in buying a home or selling your home in Gwinnett or DeKalb County, make sure that you go to the link in the bio, click the consultation tab, and schedule a time with me, especially if you're looking to buy a home. And if you're looking to sell, I may be able to refer you, so you can text the word referral to 770-758-5641, and we can contact you and set up the referral process for you so that you can get started with an agent in your area today. Well, that's all we have for now. Of course, like I mentioned before, if you have any questions, I have no problem coming back to the video and answering them for you. Please put things that you would want in the comment section that are not confidential to you that I can assist you with in understanding. So hopefully this live wasn't as heavy to you all as it felt to me, probably because I'm trying to internalize and picture some of the things that were in the article, and it just seems so unfortunate and so unnecessary. So it kind of took the wind out of me a little bit with that stuff. So hopefully you all can see some of the things that others have experienced, learn from them, prevent that from occurring for yourself as much as possible, and take it as a warning to just ask questions. And also the fact that earlier on in the article, it was mentioned that the realtor told the buyer at that time that she wouldn't be able to afford the property. And then to get in there and all these fees climb up. I don't know if that was insight from the realtor, knowing history that maybe she couldn't just outright speak on, he or she couldn't just outright speak on, but it just sounded like maybe that was a warning before the storm. I'm not sure, but there was a lot to unpack with that article. And I hope that the community is better now. I hope they've learned from this situation and that they're changing their behaviors, changing their policies, including all the homeowners and changes, allowing them to vote, and just putting an end to this type of behavior because it's not conducive to a healthy, happy neighborhood. So I will see you all in the next live. I hope you have a great week. And thank you for joining the Dreams to Keys Realty YouTube channel. Please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell so that you don't miss any content anytime we go live or post anything related to real estate or any market data. I'll see you all in the next live. Thank you for checking out Dreams to Keys Realty, where your dreams turn into keys.